Hey everyone, welcome back to the Legal Hour podcast. Today, we're here in Richardson at 100% Chiropractic with Dr. Ashley Davis.
Yes.
Ashley, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Or I should say Dr. Davis.
Yes, Dr. Davis. Either way, it works.
Yeah, well, we met briefly off camera before we started, and she said I could call her Ashley, but to her patients, Dr. Davis.
Yep.
Thank you for having us today. This is a beautiful office.
Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you guys and love working with you also.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as I'd mentioned, it's a chiropractic office. You're a chiropractor. And I thought that we could have an interesting discussion today about the intersection between what I do and what you do.
Yeah.
You know, on the legal side of things, people come to us after they've been involved in some sort of accident, whether it be a car accident or a work accident or whatever it may be. However, oftentimes you're seeing these people maybe even before we talk to them, and certainly, you know, after we talk to them if treatment's necessary and that sort of thing. So I thought, you know, this would be a nice conversation to have. But before we get into all that, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, of course. I am Dr. Ashley Davis. I've been a chiropractor for about 4 years now. We own the North Frisco location of 100% Chiropractic, and then I just took over this location, which is our corporate-owned location. 100% Chiropractic is a franchise, so we actually have offices over 20 states, I want to say, from New Jersey to California, Georgia, and back. So it's a really amazing company. We've done personal injury and car accident cases since they opened, and I want to say we're 24 years in business with the franchise. So it's really cool. I've learned a lot, and obviously a lot of knowledge having other offices and other doctors to learn from as well. We've worked with you guys, different attorneys across Texas, and we're just here. Yeah, we focus on spinal corrective care. We do x-rays, adjustments, lasers, shockwave therapy, and you name it, we have it. So it's been a really awesome place to be a part of.
Well, cool. Well, then why don't we just jump right in, because you'd mentioned it. Let's say somebody is involved in some sort of accident. Maybe they go to the ER, maybe they don't. But walk me through what happens when they walk through your door and they say, Dr. Davis, I was, say an example, for a car accident. Somebody rear-ended me. I'm having neck pain, back pain. What should they expect when they come in? Yeah,
so first visit, it depends on obviously the patient, car accident, so on and so forth. But as soon as they get in, do you have an attorney? And I know that sounds so crazy to be one of the first questions, but it truly is not even for our benefit, it's for the patient's benefit. Because sometimes they come in thinking that like their insurance might cover it, and then they get slammed with this crazy bill at the end from an insurance company, from us, or from whoever. And the attorneys are there to protect the patient, right? Like you guys literally send a letter of protection to protect that patient and their rights and everything. So it's one of the first questions we ask is, are you working with an attorney? Like what's going on in that sense? We always ask, you know, was it your fault? Is it another person's fault? What does that car accident look like? I want all details of the car accident, sideswiped, whiplash, because it tells us not even just what happened to them, but the mode of injury, right? If you're hit from the side, we're looking at, it could be an oblique injury. If it's a QL injury, or if it's hit from the back, we're thinking whiplash. Okay, now I need to take flexion extension views of an x-ray. I need to make sure they're bending and stable and everything like that. So we go through a full history. What did you feel before the accident, during the accident, and immediately after? What are you feeling today if the accident was last week? So it's a very in-depth, detailed visit. That first visit, I tell patients to expect to be here for an hour. We shoot full series x-rays from the neck to the hips to make sure everything is not just in alignment. We're talking nerve, disc, bone structure, everything. And like I said, stability, because of course after an accident, things could become unstable, which is a little bit scary. Seeing how the patient feels, and then we do neurological exams, make sure everything's working in the right way, muscle testing, and then range of motion. If they are not in too much pain, we will do an adjustment that first day. But if they're in a lot of pain, I tell them go home, ice, and then we'll come back for follow-up treatments.
Got it. That makes sense. And you brought up something interesting about, you know, how it's going to be paid. Right? Because
everyone's scared. It's scary. You know?
No, exactly. And you make a good point of, look, in instances where there may be a third party who's responsible, health insurance, you know, becomes kind of iffy as to whether or not they want to pay. And so that's an interesting point that I feel like isn't discussed enough is, hey, there's a reason why I asked this question about whether an attorney is representing you, because oftentimes they can assist you with navigating that difficult road of, okay, yes, I was in an accident, that was not my fault, and I don't have money to pay for this medical treatment. How am I going to navigate that? So that's certainly an interesting point you bring up.
No, it's literally like one of the biggest things we deal with is Patients are like, I'm in so much pain, but I don't have the money to pay for this.
Right.
And the accident wasn't my fault. Let's get an attorney.
Yeah.
And that's so, so, so important. And pushing that importance on patients, I'm like, because it's scary sometimes to call an attorney because you're like, is there fees? Am I going to get charged for even calling them?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I promise they want to help you because they're going to protect you. So.
Right. No, and that's a very interesting point. So you mentioned the different things that you do for people once they come in and in that first initial appointment.
Yeah.
But how about the ongoing treatment? I know that oftentimes, you mentioned adjustments, some of the other therapies that you guys do. In my experience, with my clients, y'all's patients,
yes,
there's a course of treatment depending
Absolutely.
on the condition, obviously,
Yes.
to make sure that pain is being controlled to a certain extent.
Yeah. So it depends on the severity, right? Like that's why we shoot x-rays, do all the neurological exams. But whenever we sit down and really go over it, I would suggest 2 to 3 times a week coming in at first. Now this isn't like a forever thing. It's just the first, I would say about 3 to 4 weeks. Let's get ahead of the curve. Let's get you feeling better. Let's get the inflammation down. So we'll use cupping therapy, laser therapy, and adjustments. Now we have Shockwave, which is absolutely awesome for patients as well. But we build a little care plan for them over the first 4 weeks, so about 12 visits. After those first 12 visits, we are going back in and re-examining everything. So it's really important because I want to see how they're progressing. Are they progressing in a certain manner? Do we need to change something, add something? So it's really tailored to the patient based on their mode of injury from that accident.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
One of the things that we were discussing, and we have this nice example in front of us of a spine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before we even got started off camera, we were discussing the different things about degenerative discs and acute disc injuries and all these sorts of things. I feel like that's often brought up so often by insurance adjusters. Defense attorneys are, this was a pre-existing degenerative disc issue and that sort of thing. What in your experience do you see? I mean, obviously the age of the patient will matter.
Most definitely.
But when you're treating somebody after an acute incident like a car accident and how that kind of intertwines with, everybody's lived their life. Maybe they did some sort of sports or whatever it may be, or just existing.
Yeah.
Those discs
discs can degenerate, right? So I think there's a difference of I don't think there is a difference between disc degeneration and a disc bulge or disc herniation. So a disc bulge or disc herniation, yes, it can be from degeneration. So essentially when you look at a spine, right, you have bone, disc, bone, and then the nerves come out from behind it, okay? The disc is like gelatin, right? Now that jello is the protection between your bones. So you take the jello out, what happens? Bones touch, okay? And also those nerves can get pinched. So that's when people are like, numbness tingling down my legs, my fingers, stuff like that they feel.
Right.
Now, disc degeneration can be the actual bones eroding, right? So that's like arthritic. We see that typically in the population about 55, 60 plus.
Right.
Now, I have a 26-year-old come in literally 3 weeks ago. She just got in a car accident. Now, this is where secondary forms of imaging come in mind. So we work a lot with MRI Centers of Texas. We work a lot with different neuropathy, like stuff like that, right? So we're going to neurologists and all of that. And it's really important to have a huge team on board because, yes, I can do my job, but sometimes I need a little extra TLC of pain management, whatever it might be.
Sure.
So whenever that MRI comes back in my 26-year-old 3 weeks ago, it says she has a disc bulge at C5. What 26-year-old has a disc bulge at C5? Very, very far and few between. And if you do, we're concerned. She looks at me and goes, well, I did get in a car accident 2 weeks ago. And I was like, that makes total sense, right?
Right.
So because of that car accident, her disc from the whiplash received trauma. So the bulge can look like those little jello pieces just kind of bulging out to the outsides. Obviously, it's pinching on the nerve, causing some pain. So without that car accident, I know that patient probably didn't experience the pain she is having now, but because of it and that whiplash, now that disc is just coming out the outsides and she's just 26 years old, disc bulge. That's crazy, No,
that makes sense. And I, from my experience, not being a physician but just in seeing my clients, it's not abnormal following, severe accidents, especially car accidents, to see herniations and bulges. And,
absolutely.
Whether it is C-spine in the neck or lumbar or whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talked about some of the continued treatment and some of the forms of treatment. You'd mentioned some of the new things that y'all are doing.
Yeah.
What are you seeing? I mean, and obviously it's patient specific, but
Absolutely.
what are you seeing is helping a lot of patients these days with
Yeah,
that?
obviously adjustments, because we're putting force into the body, back into alignment, back into the curvatures of the spine. A lot of times I think we think of like alignment this way within the spine, but you also have to have the right curves, right? So if the neck isn't curved enough or the low back, that could affect us in posture, alignment, stuff like that. So adjustments are heavy. Cupping therapy, I don't know if you've ever done that before.
Personally, no.
Yeah, you see all athletes, right? All athletes, NFL players get cupping. Why doesn't the general population do it? It's so important, especially after a car accident. So the cups bring blood flow to the area of injury. And whenever, let's say I have a low back patient after a car accident, they'll come in, I'll put cups on them. Certain areas on those cups will become a darker color than the others. So you'll see one area get like really purple and the other get like pink. And the patient's like, why is one area darker than the other? I'm like, that's where the injury site is. So you're seeing that blood literally come to that area to heal those tissues that were injured in the car accident.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And no, I hadn't necessarily seen that before. But
Like athletes do it. We just don't think to do it to ourselves, and especially after car accidents.
Right. So, and on that note, athletes do require a lot of additional training and that sort of thing. So on that front, do you also work with, athletes and others that?
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that.
So we work with we work with general population. I work with moms that are pregnant to newborns to literally, my oldest patient is 92 years old and she is kicking it and drives herself here all the time.
Love it.
But with athletes, yeah, it's super important. I mean, obviously they need a certain type of chiropractic. So they're not just laying down with, let's say, a cups or laser on. We're doing movements. We're doing specific movements to their sport. So whether it's a tennis player or a golfer, we might be working on like a thoracic rotation, right? They need more rotation within the spine to get better at their sport. So it's a little bit more tailored specific to an athlete rather than like someone that's just sitting at a desk all day. I'm talking just posture with them. We'll work on movement later, but let's just get your posture first, then we'll induce movement later.
Yeah, that makes sense because I mean, that's something that I'm not cognizant enough of. But,
yeah.
I mean, I catch myself just
leaning
over
forward,
my desk.
Hunch forward, yeah.
I've seen people talk about, oh, you can sit on an exercise ball or you can do this and that. Is there anything that you would recommend if somebody is just sitting at an office 40 hours a week that they could do to help that?
There is so much ergonomic stuff out there, even on Amazon, that you can look up. I would definitely say low back support for sure. I think that's the one thing, like even me sitting in this chair, I don't sit much at my job, but we just tend to hunch the pelvis in, right? We tuck that pelvis in, taking out the curve of the low back. You should, look at the spine. You should have a curve in this low back, right?
Right.
It should be a curvature around 40 degrees. If we sit like this all day, what do you think your degree of your spine is? -5, maybe?
Yeah, right.
So having that lumbar support can really push your pelvis up and engage your core muscles as well. So it's really important. I'd say that, and then having a desk that's not too low, because especially being on our phones all the time, TikTok and Instagram now, I know you're probably watching the video on there, but we sit like this. And as soon as you catch yourself, pulling everything up, engaging in the lats and the shoulder blades, 10 out of 10 importance, because seeing these people's x-rays, it's kind of getting a little scary with technology.
Sure. Do you see that specifically in people's necks, almost like you're looking down at your phone too much?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I had a 13-year-old and her mom come in probably like 2 years ago. It's like when I first got into practice and bought my first office, and I put their x-rays side by side, and I looked at the mom and I said, which one's you and which one's your daughter? And she's like, that's me. I said, look at the braces. I said, that's your daughter. And the daughter's neck was worse curved than the mother.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But it's just technology, we have to be more cognizant of everything.
So on that same note, what are your thoughts on standing desks? Helpful?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, movement's medicine. Keep your body moving,
Right. Especially along the lines of, I guess, anything to stop you from having a bad posture.
Exactly.
On that, back to the athlete thing for a second, because I was just thinking about this. You'd mentioned that some of the different things that they're doing, sports specific, do you treat or do you see any benefit to athletes doing it even when they aren't injured, almost as like another form of training, or are you seeing it mostly as, somebody's recovering from an injury?
So chiropractic, by like definition, is prevention care, right? If you come to me after an accident, yes, but we are preventing things from getting worse. You come to me after a sports injury, we're preventing it from getting worse. We're helping you get out of pain. But in true definition, it is taking pressure off nerves to heal you within, right? Like your body has, like, it's called innate intelligence. So the body can heal itself. So people come in all the time and they're like athletes especially, and I just want to see what I look like. How do I look? And we'll take an x-ray, we'll sit down. I literally pull every patient. Car accident, athlete, doesn't matter. We put them up on a flat screen TV in that room over there, and we sit there and I teach you about your body. So I sit there and I'm like, this is this, this is this, this is this. And then I show you your x-rays and I ask you, what do you see? And I want you, and not just you, but everyone, to be so educated about their body that they're like, wow, I need to improve here. I need to improve here. You might not have pain yet, but not having pain doesn't mean that there's something wrong or off in the body. So I always tell patients, like, throw pain out. Getting rid of pain, we can do pretty fast. Keeping you out of pain and preventing stuff from getting worse is a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, that makes sense. And to tie it back into, accidents just for a moment, because that reminded me, you'd mentioned that kind of on the front end after an acute accident of some sort, that's when most of the treatment or you're seeing a lot more appointments. Is that because, hey, attacking this head on earlier is helping the healing process faster?
Absolutely. Like, think about it. Like, you get a burn, right? You take care of it constantly for a week. That burn heals pretty fast. You let the burn sit and go lollygag around, you're looking at that and there's huge scars. If we don't take care of it, you're gonna leave scars in your body. It is so, so, so important to attack things head on, fast and abruptly, because on the tail end of things, you're gonna come back loving your life, and maybe even better than when you came in at first.
And that's a good point that you bring up, because I feel like so many people that are, especially car wrecks, for example, I could imagine myself or any guy or girl for that matter, but is in a wreck and they think, I'm a little sore, but I'm strong. My body's fine. I'll bounce back. Just give me a week, give me 2 weeks. I know this nagging pain's going to go away. What would be your advice to those people that think they're stronger than that?
I tend to do that myself. Like, we're all, we all do it. We're like, oh, I'm fine. Let me just push it off a little bit. The more that we push this off, the worse it can get. Not only that, but the worse your recovery time could get, right? Instead of looking at like 6 weeks and we're recovered, you could be looking at 12 to 24 weeks. Like, you don't know what your body's gonna react to. And we always see like adrenaline pain. Like, when you get in a car accident, your adrenaline is so heightened. You could be scared, it could be emotional. Like, there's so much that happens. I have patients come in 2 weeks later and they're like, I didn't feel anything till just now. And it's a delayed onset, right? Like, even when you work out, you have delayed onset of muscle soreness. It's called DOMS by definition, like an actual physiological standpoint, it's DOMS. You don't think you get that from a car accident? You could be whipped this way. Like, you might not feel it in that moment and you think you're strong, but I promise, just get ahead of it and get treatment, just because you never know what could happen in the body.
Right. And so in that instance, somebody comes in, they talk to you, they say, hey, I was just in an accident. I kind of feel it. I thought it'd go away. Let me be safe and get it checked out. I mean, that's probably the best way to
do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, we don't have to go like ER route, but at least come in and shoot an x-ray, see what's going on, check out the nervous system, and go from there.
Sure, because I feel like there's even certain ways when you're talking about like range of motion tests and all these other things, because sitting at their desk, 8 hours a day, doing their normal job, whatever it may be, they don't necessarily feel anything, but all of a sudden you tweak their arm in a way that it should be able to do, and they can't, then it's like, okay, well.
I mean, think of it. You're a runner, right?
Yeah.
So tall. Feet on the floor. Cross your arms here. All right, I want you to twist to one side. And then twist to the other side. Even just there, do you feel how this side doesn't go as far when you twist left? Do it again.
And I felt my back crack.
Yeah, do it again. You have more range of motion, right? You can see the shoulders turning to me completely. You turn this way, the shoulders don't even turn completely to the left side. So that's just you from running. Nevertheless, a patient that gets in a car accident, they come in, they're like, oh, I'm fine. They twist one way, they're like, oh. They twist the other way, they're like, wow, I can't even move.
Yeah.
It's the mental capacity of we're okay, and that's just everyone in society. When really we can all improve. We can always be better, and we can always treat ourselves better.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah.
Selfish question.
Yes.
On the running point, I hear a lot of people talk about, and this can be applicable to exercising or sports in general, but some people say that there's certain stretches like static stretching that isn't as helpful before exercise versus active stretching because it's not necessarily
engaging
I don't know
in
the
the,
science
like,
behind it. Yeah,
the muscles. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think that active stretching is super important for runners specifically before any type of movement, right? So you have lactic acid built up in the muscles. Whenever we're stretching and doing active stretching, you're moving that lactic acid throughout like your body. Now, when you do static stretching, it isn't as effective for runners specifically. I think each sport has its own motion. If you look at a gymnast, I was a gymnast growing up and cheered in college and did the whole thing. If you look at a gymnast, most of their stretches is static before a practice, but they're doing extreme splits in the air, they're bending backwards. Like, it's a totally different scenario compared to a runner that's just in motion all the time, right? Like in gymnastics, you could be holding an arabesque for 30 seconds. In running, you're not holding anything.
Yeah.
So I think based on the sport, it depends. But for runners specifically, I do think active stretching is your best route with a static stretch post workout.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And kind of to tie it back into what we've been discussing, I know a lot of doctors talk to their patients about, you know, things that they can do at home post-injury, accident, whatever it may be. What, and again, very patient specific, but do you see benefits to those who actually follow the programs of, hey, I'm going home and I'm doing the stretches or doing the exercises that are, you know, recommended?
I mean, duh, of course. Like,
no, I get it, but
no,
what?
but yes, no, I agree. All the time, we'll look at patients and be like, did you do your home therapy today? No, but my hip hurts. Why does your hip hurt? You have to do homework. We grow up doing homework. You still have homework as an adult. Your homework as an adult is to take care of yourself, brush your teeth, your hygiene, and your body. You only have one body. Do not let it go to shit, right?
Yeah.
Let's be real. So we always tell patients, obviously it's tailored specific. First thing I see every patient, I would say 90% of patients that come in, heat. They put a heating pad on their back or their limbs or whatever, and they think that is, they're doing the most with just a heating pad. What athlete do you know immediately when they get injured puts a heating pad on a football field, puts a heating pad on the sidelines? No one. What do? Ice.
Yeah.
Ice, compression therapy. Some people have an E-stem, stuff like that. But you never see heat being put on an injury. And that is like one of my biggest pet peeves. I'm like, they're like, but ice doesn't feel good. It doesn't, but it's something that's going to decrease inflammation and help, especially in acute injury, like post-accident, a whiplash patient, low back patient, sciatic issues. We all just want heat because it feels good, but I always say ice, ice, ice. But obviously there's other things tailored specific, like you could do traction at home, like increasing curvature of the neck, decreasing muscle tension, TENS units, all of that. But for the most part, heat and ice is like the easiest things we could do, and we just don't want to do it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Are there other common mistakes that you see some of your patients make?
Like post-accident?
Right, post-accident.
Yeah. I would say, like I said, the heat one's really big. Waiting too long, like thinking like you said, like I'm not in that much pain, let me just wait a week. I'm not in that much pain, or it's only my neck. I don't want to touch anything else. I only want to touch my neck. And I'm like, if you go in a whiplash accident, right, we get hit from the back. We're here. My whole body's moving. Your mid-back, your lats are being spread, your head's being bent forward, and then you're also hinging at the hip, right? We're already in a 90-degree position. So now you're just saying, oh, I only want it's only my neck. If we don't check the whole body, we could be looking at a hip impingement later on, a labral tear. We could look at so many things. The seatbelt bracing against the shoulder. That's one of the biggest things we see too, is shoulder. And a lot of people are like, why does my shoulder hurt from an accident? Hopefully you have a seatbelt on. Okay, that when that seatbelt catches that shoulder, I mean, we're looking at an impingement in the shoulder now. So it's just little things like that I really want patients to start thinking of, like, what did you feel before? What did you feel during the accident and immediately after? Because the body can change that quickly.
Yeah, that makes sense. You know, along those lines of people saying, well, no, I know I only hurt my neck, or whatever the body part may be. You make a good point about how everything's so interconnected, because I feel like I often hear people talking about, like you'd mentioned earlier, oh, I have tingling in my fingers or in my toes, but I only had whiplash. And it's like, no, those things are all connected.
Yeah, I always tell patients, I talk about this a lot, and I don't think a lot of people know about it, but every nerve in our body comes out from behind the spine, okay? Every nerve. What do nerves do? They supply muscles, cells, tissues, and organs, right? They give us life, quite literally. It comes from the brain. Now, let's say you have whiplash, anything like that. Every nerve goes to somewhere different. Specifically, C5, 6, and 7 go somewhere super specific in the body. So you know that big bump on the back of the neck? Feel it. The biggest bone in the back of your neck.
Okay,
That's on average C7 or T1, okay? C7 nerve root specifically is middle finger.
Huh.
So if you have tingling in your middle finger or the ring finger, immediately C7. If you have tingling in your thumb, C6. Like, it is that specific, but patients are like, oh, it's the whole hand. I'm like, no, let's numb it down. I know some people are the whole hand, don't get me wrong. But most of the time you can be like, oh, it's kind of like these two fingers. I'm like, okay, we're looking at C5, C6. Oh, it's these two fingers. So literally it can go down that specific, and that's why it's so important to get MRIs done. Do we have a disc bulge here? Because that tells me you could have weakness. Bicep, C6, tricep, C7, shoulder, C5, specific. When you take a national board exam as a chiropractor, they will literally be like, test C5 nerve root. You know what they do? Put the arms like this and push down to test the shoulders, because that's C5 of the neck, but it's activating the shoulder muscle.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And that's just because of the nerve connections.
The nerve connections. Mm-hmm.
Huh.
That's why we're like, get an MRI. Like, it is so important after an accident, because it will literally tell specific levels of what could be affected if it is not fixed.
Yeah, that makes sense. So that's a good point. You mentioned that you do have some imaging stuff on site, but when we're talking about the more specific
MRI, CT.
intense imaging, you get them in an MRI, and that gives you a better view of, on a more granular level between the discs, et cetera, where that degeneration, the bulge, the herniations, all that stuff is.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I had a car accident patient, I want to say like 2 months ago, and he kept telling me like, my shoulder, and he's a bigger guy, so there's only so much I can do to the shoulder. I could do some, like we talked about, cupping, laser adjustments, but you can only adjust the shoulder in so many ways. And I was like adjusting the neck, doing everything I can. I was like, you know what? Let's get an MRI of the shoulder, because we had done one of the neck and he had some disc bulges. So I was like, okay, that's probably connected to the shoulder. It's like, let's get a follow-up MRI. He's on a car accident case. Let's just see if the shoulder, labral tear.
Wow.
Of the shoulder. And I was astonished. I was just like, wow, like that. I knew it was bad, but he was like at first he was like, I can move it. I'm strong still. I can do all this stuff, And until he saw that imaging, he was like, I need to take care of this. And he was like, I can't believe, he got hit by an 18-wheeler. It was a really bad accident. And I was like, I'm so glad that we did the extra imaging, because like, how would you know?
Yeah.
It's important to have a full team, not just the chiropractor, but just everyone on board with you.
Before we go today, is there anything else? I know we talked about some common misconceptions, but anything else you'd like our listeners to know about you, about anything that we've talked about?
I think we covered a lot today, but I think that we should go shoot your x-rays and see what's going on in your body as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Well, we're going to stop the podcast here, and we're going to go check me out and see how much damage I've done to myself. But in the meantime, thank you for listening to another episode of the Legal Hour podcast. As a reminder, we've been here with Dr. Ashley Davis at 100% Chiropractic, with offices in Richardson and North Frisco.
Yeah.
North Frisco. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to be here. Thank y'all.